Hey guys, Gareth here again from Purposeful Humans. Welcome to 2025. Over the last few months, I've realized that my anxiety, the thing that I deal with on a daily basis, actually might have a name. So what I wanted to talk to you about today was how to manage being a high-functioning anxious person. So here's the thing, right? You're spinning plates, you're juggling balls, you're managing a million different things, and you seem to be keeping things pretty well managed. But there's this level of anxiety that is forever in the back of your head, and that's how I live every day. It gets me most days, but I'm always managing this low level of anxiety that is just constantly trickling away in the back of my mind. Now the thing is, it doesn't stop me from doing anything. It doesn't stop me from getting up and going to work. It doesn't stop me from, trying to smash it out every day and doing the best that I can in everything that I do. But it's always there. And I recently realized that there's a name for this: high functioning anxiety. So having high functioning anxiety is kind of like being a stealthy superhero in my mind. Put myself up in lights there. It's the thing that helps you perform at your best, always on target, constantly thinking about what the right thing to do is, but it comes with some downsides, and that's a high level of worry and a little bit of stress. Often that can be pretty heightened. So how does this come out in physical symptoms? Well, for me, it's fatigue. Sometimes I, take a nap when I get home. I often feel run down and tired at the end of the day because I've been go all day. Sometimes it will disrupt my sleep, which is never a good thing. I really depend on having a good amount of sleep. So it can lead to, fatigue and sort of physical outcomes that aren't the best for you. So in terms of the emotional side of things, it comes out like a need for control, reasonably high stress. Sometimes it can be really hard to pay attention, and you might have difficulty concentrating. And so that all comes through from that low level of worry and anxiety that's running in the back of your head that just keeps you going at this thing all the time. One of the things that I find that it comes through as in terms of behavioral symptoms is sometimes I will procrastinate, and I will procrastinate bad. I'll put off doing something even though I know that's the next thing to do in order to take a project or a task that one step further. And why do I procrastinate? Because I'm tired, I'm fatigued, I'm worrying about what if I don't get this right, and all of a sudden that imposter syndrome kicks in, and it's a real pain in the ass. Unfortunately, running like this full tilt all the time can lead to burnout, depression, and getting quite down and dark on things. And as I've talked about before in terms of my personal situation, it often ends up with me battling with my mental health. The anxiety is high, I might get into a dark place, and sometimes it's really hard to get back out of that. And hey, if you're running on full tilt all the time, there are some physical fallbacks that aren't so good. You will end up with high levels of stress for a long period of time, which can cause health problems. You can end up with high blood pressure, heart conditions, you name it. If you go and Google having high stress for a long period of time in your life, you'll find symptoms that may be familiar to you. Now, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a GP, I'm not a mental health expert. So if you're suffering from any of these symptoms and you really need to try and grapple with it and deal with it and grab hold of it, then see a specialist, see a person who can help you out. So what do I do when it comes to dealing with this high level of anxiety? Because I can't switch my brain off, it's going all day and often it's going all night. Well, one of the first things I do is I try and meditate. I try and do some mindful reflection on what's causing that. What am I worrying about, and getting those things out of my head so that I'm not creating stories around the worry, and that I can get them down on paper and understand the objective view of the world in terms of the things I'm worrying about. In terms of meditation, it's been a godsend for me. It helps me slow down the voice in my head. I may not be able to stop it, but I can certainly slow it down. And it allows me to think things through objectively. Deep breathing, box breathing, any of those breathing techniques can really slow down your heart rate, slow down that level of anxiety and that's playing away in the background. And it really helps you to be more objective about what you are worried about and what you are thinking about. Other people will try things like Tai Chi and yoga, physical exercise, anything that's good for releasing tension in your muscles and your body that can help with also the mindfulness piece. Just relax your body and bring your heart rate down. It's exceptionally good for just lowering that high level of anxiety that you might have. It'll help reduce your heart rate, the physical fatigue, relax your muscles, but it's also going to help you go into the next day being more relaxed, being more with it, and being able to continue to perform at a high level. In terms of getting into lifestyle, it's really important that you think about your lifestyle, your physical health. Getting out and spending 30 minutes a day doing exercise is a prescribable physical exercise that your doctor should be telling you to do anyway. It's really important. It's good for your heart, it's good for your body, and it's good also for your brain. I often will go for a walk, sometimes with music, sometimes without. When I'm walking without music or running without music, I am able to think more clearly. It's not that anxious thinking and worrying that I'm doing it. It's more thinking about what the solutions are. And I often come up with the best way forward on a problem when I'm out running or I'm out walking or I'm out doing physical exercise. Another thing that I know probably affects you, and it definitely affects me, is what you eat. Make sure that you're trying to eat reasonably clean and green. I mean, it's all good to have a cheat day, but don't do that every day. Make sure that you're putting nutrients in your body that's helping your body give you energy, keep your momentum up, keep your energy up, and not foods that are going to drive you into the ground. Now, I talked about sleep earlier. Sleep's so important. For me, it's critically important. I always tell people the only thing more important in life than breathing is sleeping. Now, I'm sure eating and getting water is up there, but for me, sleeping is critical. If I don't get enough sleep, I know it every day that I don't get enough sleep. I'm fatigued, I'm worried, my anxiety goes through the roof, and it's just not a good place to be. Sometimes in life you have to put in some guardrails when it comes to this high functioning anxiety to stop you from overdoing it and getting yourself into a bad place. Some of those things are, good time management tools, and making sure you set aside time for yourself to contemplate what is the next step, being objective, writing things down rather than constantly on the run and thinking about things. Make sure you set realistic goals. I know as a high functioning anxious person, I often set hard goals for myself. Then when I'm struggling to meet those goals, I'm the one beating myself up, and that's a horrible place to be. So set realistic goals. Make sure those goals are things that you can achieve, and that's going to help you get one step further on in the project or the task or the business that you work in. Another key lesson that I've learned mostly in the last 4 or 5 years is the ability to say no. It's okay to say no. Give some reason why, but saying no is good for you. Don't take on too much. If you're a yes person, you're probably taking on things far beyond your capacity, which makes you run faster, makes you go faster, makes you think faster, and increases that level of anxiety. Don't do it. Try and find the capacity to say no. And hey, don't beat yourself up. Be compassionate to yourself. Practice some self-kindness. Don't be critical of yourself. Don't judge yourself. Give yourself enough room to be able to do your job and do it well. If you make mistakes, it's all good. Failure is part of learning. Failure is part of life. Don't beat yourself up about it. Make sure that you're cutting yourself some slack. Now, one thing that I do, which is a horrible behavior, is I get so sucked into work, I start neglecting my social connections, my friends, my family, getting out and meeting people in my network. Make sure that's a priority. It's a really important thing for most people to relieve some of the stress. A lot of the time, when you're not being objective in yourself, if you talk to someone else about it, they'll be objective for you, and you'll start seeing that actually, I've blown this all out of proportion, and actually, I'm not in as bad a situation as I thought I was, and I can meet that deadline, or I can achieve that target. And if all else fails, seek professional guidance. Don't be afraid to go and ask for help, whether it's going to a psychologist, getting some counselling, or seeing your GP. Get some help. If you're suffering from high levels of anxiety and you are a high functioning anxious person like myself, then make sure you get enough help around you that helps you put everything into perspective and helps you to slow down the anxiety and slow down the worrying. There's no shame in it. I spent many years thinking, I'm not going to get help, I'm going to white knuckle it, but white knuckling it is not a good idea. It simply will make it worse. So get help, make sure you've got good people around you. Use your friends, use your family, but if in doubt, get some professional guidance. So, the revelation, high functioning anxious people walk among us, and I'm one of them, and there's plenty of us around. Dealing with high functioning anxiety is a manageable condition. In fact, if you control it and put in those guardrails and look after yourself, you might find that it's a superpower, not an Achilles heel. That's the way I look at it. I think that the level of performance that I get out of myself and the things that I achieve actually somewhat come from having that anxiety, that need to progress, that need to move forward, and that need to get stuff right. I have had to build habits into my life to ensure I have got those guardrails and I don't beat myself up, and I am able to fail and learn and move on to the next task. But I think actually that anxiety is helping me sometimes. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not something to be looked down on. It's something to be managed. And if you are there thinking, maybe I'm a high functioning anxious person, then put in place the guardrails. Take some of those techniques and apply them to your life. Get enough sleep, make sure you eat healthy and do the physical exercise. And yes, this is probably similar advice that you get from some of these buffheads telling you how to excel in life and create billions of dollars of wealth and buy fantastic new cars. I'm not talking to you in terms of that side of things. I'm talking to you about your own personal capability of controlling anxiety if you are a high functioning and anxious person. And finally, just to reiterate, if you do need help, don't be afraid to go and get professional guidance. Get some professional help from someone. But otherwise, put in place some of these techniques. Try journaling and getting those thoughts out of your head and being objective about things. Try meditation. Try to set realistic goals and give yourself a break. Try not to get down on yourself. And once you've done all that, tell me in the comments below how you are managing your high level of anxiety and using it as your super weapon. And as always, share the video as far as you can. I want to help as many people as I can find their purpose and guide their way through life with really good basic principles of being a good human being. Enjoy the journey.